Good afternoon, my dear listeners. Welcome to Time Out 360, the show of the town, the show that talks about everything that support our community, that motivate us to come out and participate in civic engagement, the show that everybody listen to every Saturday afternoon from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. My name is J. Jean-Louis, and this is a pleasure for me today to be with you. We have a special guest today, the Supervisors of Election, precisely Broward Supervisors of Elections, Mr. Joe Scott. Mr. Joe Scott has been a good friend of the Haitian community, and he is one of the person in this office supervising everything that's going on during the election. What does that mean? That means if you have not received your ballot, if you have not received your ballot via mail, if you have any issues in registering, if you have any issues with voting, you need to go to his office. You need to consult his office to find out what's wrong with your ballot. So today we're going to debate, we're going to inform you, we're going to educate you, we're going to give information that is necessary for you to participate in the political life and fulfill your civic engagement in Broward County. Civic engagement is one of the pillars of this community, is one of the pillars in the political system. When you fulfill your civic engagement, you help yourself, you help your family, and you help your country. Today, we are encouraging you to know when is the election. August 18th is the primary for the November 3rd election. What does that mean? What it means having a primary? What it means having a general election? When do I register to vote for the primaries? When do I vote to register? When do I register to vote for the general election? What does that mean? Early voting. What does that mean? Vote by mail or absentee ballot. All these terminologies, the Supervisors of Election, Mr. Joe Scott, will be with us today to explain to us what is the importance of that office and how it can help us participate in the political process by civically engaging in this system. My name again is J. Jean-Louis, and I'm welcoming Mr. Joe Scott on the platform. Mr. Joe Scott, welcome on Time Out 360.
Hey, good afternoon, Jay. Thanks for having me on.
Mr. Scott, we know you are the Supervisors of Election. You won the Supervisors election in Broward County. And we know as well that this is an important office. It plays a great role in getting the election going, getting the ballots on time, getting the ballots to the voters. Can you define in just a few words what is the job of the Supervisors of Election?
Sure. Yeah. So it's an office that was created by the Florida Constitution. Every county has a supervisor of elections. We're responsible for maintaining the voter rolls. So when you register to vote, we're the ones who make sure that you're eligible. And if for any reason something changes and you're not eligible anymore, it's our responsibility to then remove you from the voter rolls. When it comes time to conduct an election, whether it's federal, state, municipal, any elections that happen in Broward County that have to do with local government or federal government, we're actually going to conduct those elections. We set up the polling places, the early voting sites, we hire the workers, we train the workers, and we just make sure that everything goes well. Also maintaining the equipment. So there's the equipment that's used for the elections. We're the ones who maintain that, make sure all the supplies are there, everything that's needed.
What is the role of the state in the job that you do? Does the legislature is the one that set up the rules for you to follow to go by?
Yeah, that's correct. So the Florida legislature does established what's the Florida Election Code, which we all have to follow. So that's the laws that govern how elections are conducted here in the state of Florida. And we have a chief election officer for the state, who is the Secretary of State, who actually is intended to basically coordinate. It's ever since some of your viewers might have heard about the election that happened back in 2000, Bush v. Gore, and there was a lot of it came really close in Florida, and
Yep.
and there were some differences between how each county was running their elections. So since then, we've had this coordination effort where the state basically coordinates all 67 counties and generally tries to get us to where we have the same processes and procedures so that there's uniformity across the state.
Now, in the Haitian community, we don't feel, how would I put it, the participation of the Haitian community in voting. Myself, I understand that there is a lack of communication, lack of information in the Haitian community. And due to the fact that we come from a different country where the policies, the politics are different as well, we're not as engaged as I would like to see us engage. What kind of support that the Supervisors of Election can provide or has provided in the past that helps and motivate the less informed voters to participate in the political system in voting?
Yeah, so we're actually constantly putting out information on social media, and we actually do put information out in Haitian Creole. So if you follow us at Broward Votes, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Those are the main platforms I think that we use, but we use Nextdoor, we use a couple others. Dabble with TikTok every now and then. But honestly, if you want to get the information in Haitian Creole, check out our Facebook, check out our Instagram. You can actually grab some of that information. You can share it with your family and friends. We like to share information that's like bite-sized, easy to digest at one time, and easy to share, shareable stuff. So, basically you could take the image, download the image, you can share it in different chats. That's what we're hoping would happen by putting that information out there, not just in English, but also in Spanish and Haitian Creole.
One thing I would like to inform you, though, most people in our community don't do much of social media in terms of investigating and watching, follow, subscribing to YouTube channels to know what's going on. Most of the time, we listen to the radio stations. For example, right now, I'm on the podcast with you. We're broadcasting on YouTube, on Facebook, but at the same time, we're broadcasting live on a radio station as well, because most of our listeners, are more accustomed with the radio instead of social media. Is there any plans in your agenda in terms of addressing that issue, getting that information as well on the radio stations?
Absolutely, yeah. So, like I'm here today, I also will, have some additional time on different Haitian radio stations as well. I've done this in the past, and I definitely have, plans for this upcoming cycle as well. Also, Island TV, if that's something that your listeners are familiar with. I've been on Island TV a couple of times, and we definitely have plans to do that again this year as well. So, we do try, our best to go and reach out across all of the different forms of media that are out there, whatever it works. I mean, I say it's tougher than ever these days. There's a lot of different media to engage with.
That's right. That's right. Mr. Scott, I've worked a lot with one of your dynamic employees working with you, Mr. Mackenzie Mason.
Yeah.
He's been my guest. He's been in the community. He speaks Creole. He's Haitian. He's doing a great job for you. But one thing I would like to add for you, maybe that you guys can discuss. Have you planned like on a budget for actually top the hour announcements? For example, we have an election that's happening on August 18th.
Yes.
But most people don't know there is an election on the 18th of August. And they don't know they had to register to vote last July 20th, last Sunday. So
Right.
can we do it in such a way that we can have on the major Haitian speaking stations have on top of the hour messaging to inform our community what's going on?
Yeah. So just important to note, by the way, if you've voted previously in the state of Florida, you're still registered. It's not like you have to register again. And also it's not too late to register for November. So voter registration is still open. If you have not registered and you're registering for the first time, you won't be able to participate in the August 18th election, but you will absolutely be able to participate in November. Also, I think it's important to note that this August election is for everybody. I know sometimes people hear the word primary and they think that you have to be a member of one of the political parties to participate. While that's true for some contests, there's also very important contests such as our judicial races, our school board races. In Miami-Dade, there's some other nonpartisan contests that are going on. Also, Miami-Dade and Broward both have universal primary contests. So there actually are some partisan contests that everybody gets to vote for. So the important thing to know is whether you're a Democrat or Republican, no party affiliation or something else, everybody should participate in this August election. Everybody's voice will count.
Let me ask you a quick question that maybe that will help our customers to make a quick differentiation in terms of primaries and general elections. What is the primary and what is the difference with the general election?
So I would say the biggest difference between the primary and the general is that we do have these contests that are specifically for political parties. So here in the state of Florida, we have what's called a closed primary, which is so for certain key races. So the best example will probably be your congressional races on this ballot, also the gubernatorial, the race to decide the new governor, to decide who's going to be in the U.S. Senate. You have people from both parties that are going to be running. You'll have on the ballot in November, you'll have a nominee for the Democratic Party, you'll have a nominee for the Republican Party, and then you'll have some other people on the ballot as well. This election is the opportunity for the Republican Party and the Democratic Party to select their candidate. So you have to be a member of that party, you vote, and then you get to select your candidate that you want to compete in November. Additionally, in some cases, especially here in Broward County, we have contests where all of the voters are the same party. In those cases, we have what's called a universal primary. And that means everybody gets to vote because it won't go on in November. It'll be over in August. So many of our contests are over in August. Many of our judicial races end in August. Our school board races end in August. In fact, for judges and school board, the only way it goes on in November is if nobody gets a majority. So basically, if there's 3 people running and nobody gets over 50%, then it goes to a runoff race in November. You'll have the top 2 candidates run against each other in November. But again, that's only for school board and for judges. The other ones, Congress, governor, those races are going to be basically the parties are going to decide their candidate in August. And then in November, it'll be a competition between the 2 parties plus anybody else who chooses to run.
I'd like to take an example with your office. For example, the supervisors of election is not a party related election, for example. If I'm correct, I think it's not a question of Democrat and Republicans or independent or not independent, but non-affiliated or libertarian that goes and vote or select a candidate for your office, for example.
Yeah, well, so I am in an elected position, and we run in the so I'm not up for election this year, but I'll be up for election in 28. My last run was back in 24, and actually, in fact, the constitutional officers are partisan positions here in the state of Florida.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Now let's look at some terminologies. When we have elections, we have vote by mail. Some people call it absentee ballot. We have early voting, and we have election day voting. There is a big confusion that some people want to clout over these terminologies, and some don't want early voting, or some don't want vote by mail. What is the real issue behind those? Is there any issue? what is the difference between vote by mail, which is absentee ballot, or early voting and the day of the vote?
You know, it's all about giving access to as many people as possible. So when you have vote by mail, what that allows is for people to vote from the comfort of their home. This is really great for people who may have some sort of a disability or something else that's keeping them from being able to go out and vote in person. Early voting is great because during that early voting period, we actually have, like here in Broward County, in August, we're going to have 21 different locations in the county. In November, we'll have 30 different locations. And during early voting, you can go to any location that you choose. And early voting is different from election day because on election day, the last day, you only have one option, and that's to go to that place that you're assigned. So your assigned polling place that's on your voter card is the only place you can vote on election day. But if you go early, you can actually go throughout. And what that basically does for you is that you can pick the location that is most convenient. And for many people, that's the location that's close to their job, right? So we do elections in this country, we have elections on Tuesdays, which for most people is a work day. And if you're getting up early, you're going to work, you might have to commute somewhere to go to work, then you got to come home. You may not be able to make it between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. A lot of people are away from home that whole time, and you may not be able to go to your assigned polling place. Early voting makes it so that working people, busy people, have an opportunity to vote in person at a place that's convenient for them. Vote by mail also allows people who travel a lot, people who, for whatever reason, I mean, really, it's the most convenient way to vote because you get your ballot, you can sit at home with it, you can look it up. Sometimes these ballots are very long and there might be a lot of different contests on those ballots, and you might want to sit there and look it up. You might want to talk around the dining room table with your family and your friends about the ballot, and you can't do that when you're voting in person. You got to go to your booth, you got to fill it out by yourself. But if you do vote by mail, you can sit around with your family, your friends, you guys can talk about it, you can look stuff up, you're comfortable, and you can take your time filling out the ballot. So all three of these methods of voting are, key for different communities and different people in how they choose to vote. And it's important that we keep all of this available because it's important for democracy that we have as many participants as possible and that we are not voting in a way that closes off this opportunity to any group of people or any set of folks in our community.
The Florida legislature recently have made some changes to the vote by mail procedures. Can you clarify for us what are those changes? How does it affect our population? For example, we know we have elderlies. Vote by mail is good for elderlies. It's good
Hmm.
for people who cannot have mobility. It's good
Yep.
for people who are in the army. It's good for so many different communities and
Yep.
different type of individuals. So those rules that have been changed recently for vote by mail, how does it affect these different type of voters?
So what is most the biggest impact on people is the fact that you have to sign up to vote by mail every election cycle. So the question might be, what is an election cycle? So an election cycle is a 2-year period that starts in January of an odd numbered year and it ends in December of an even number year. So at the end of this year, everybody who signed up for vote by mail is going to get removed. The vote by mail rolls are going to go to zero in December after this election. And starting in January of 2027, everybody has to sign up again. Now, you can go and sign up as early as January. You can request a ballot for all elections, and you'll get every election through December of 2028, including the presidential election and any elections that happen in between. One great thing about signing up for vote by mail is that there might be a special election that you didn't hear about. And the way people find out that a special election is happening is because that ballot shows up in their mailbox. So it's really important. Signing up for vote by mail does not lock you in. It does not mean that you have to vote by mail. You can sign up for vote by mail. And if you choose to, you can still go and vote in person. You can't vote more than once, and we have systems in place to ensure that doesn't happen. but you do still have that option. In fact, there's deadlines for vote by mail. So if you don't request a vote by mail ballot, you actually lose that option, and then you have fewer options than the people who did sign up for vote by mail. So I really just think everybody should just go ahead and do it. Go ahead and sign up for vote by mail, because there's no downside to requesting a vote by mail ballot. There's only upside.
And I'm glad that you made that clarification, because some people think if they request or if they register to vote by mail, they can only vote by mail. They cannot go into early voting. They cannot go to on the day of the election. So they can request the vote by mail ballot. It comes to your house. You revise all the candidates. You do all the research. You talk it with your family, and then you decide if you're going to fill it out, mail it in. If you're going to fill it out and bring it, take it to the Supervisor of Election office. Is that how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. And a matter of fact, I know some people do want to go vote in person. They'll bring their vote by mail ballot with them. And I've actually seen this happen. People show up, and, like, let's say you show up and there's a long line. You decide, and we always try to stop the long lines from happening, but it happens. So you show up, there's a long line, you don't want to wait. So then they'll go ahead and fill out their ballot and drop it off. All of the early voting sites will have drop boxes. In Florida, we call them secure ballot intake stations now. So we'll have our tent set up, we'll have people out there, and we'll be outside around the box, and you'll be able to drop your ballot into the box right there at the early voting site. We do pay for postage, so you can mail it back to our office as well. But I know a lot of people prefer to drop it off themselves, and I respect that. And that's why I'm trying to make it easier than it's ever been. So in November, you'll have 30 different locations that you can go. One thing that's important to note about dropping off your ballot is that you cannot drop off your ballot at a polling place on election day. So when you get down to that very last day, and even the election is always on a Tuesday, right? So the Tuesday plus that Monday before, the day before, those 2 days, the only place you can go to drop off a vote by mail ballot is one of the Supervisor of Elections offices. Here in Broward County, we have 7 office locations. So you have to look for one of our 7 office locations the last 2 days. Okay. During the early voting period, which, by the way, ends that Sunday before the election, during early voting, in November, we'll have 30. In August, we'll have 21. So there's a lot of different places you can go. You'll see our drop box set up. It's clearly labeled. You have a tent with my logo on it. The box has my logo on it. You'll have staff there watching the box, and it's right there at the early voting site. So basically, we try to make it very, very easy here in Broward County for people to participate, whichever way is most convenient for them.
Thank
I
you
know
very
there
much,
is.
Supervisor Joe Scott. I'm glad
Hey,
that
Sean.
you're here, and I'm glad that you could verify that answer right there, because I had the note of si me comprends bien, if I understand you very well, let's say the early voting start, we know it started in August 8th or something, right? The early voting, I could drop my mailing ballot anywhere that you have a mailing box. But
Correct. Yeah, we have our website tells you all the 21 locations. We'll even give you directions. We'll show it to you on a map. You can look at you can put your address in and see which of our 21 locations is closest to you, either at your house or at your job. You can put in the address to your job, and we'll show you which location is closest to your job and give you those directions. So our website has a lot of great information for people to use.
And the website, Supervisor Joe, is what?
browardvotes.gov.
browardvote.gov. Alors, nous avons besoin que tout le monde bien comprenne ça. browardvote.org. Faut pour nous mettre la position.
Yep. But it has a S, browardvotes.gov.
Vote, V-O-T-E-S. Faut pour nous mettre ça bien dans le cadre. Supervisor Scott, I appreciate that you tell us, because during the period of the early voting, like I live in Plantation, I could drop my mailing box in Cold Spring, or I could drop it off at Pompano Beach, or I could drop it off in Hollywood within Broward County.
Right, as
But
long as you're in the county, correct.
you mentioned there are 2 days, the day of voting and the day before. I cannot do that.
You have to go to an office. So we do have 7 different locations that you can go on the day of the election and the day before. There are 7 different locations. It's just that you think about November, you're going to have 30 locations for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, there'll be 30 locations. And then the last 2 days, when, let's be honest, a lot of our folks out there are going to wait till the last minute.
Then
But
that's
those last 2 days, your options shrink. Okay.
right.
You go from having 30 places you could go down to just 7. And
7.
then that's for, by the way, that's just for dropping off your vote by mail. When you talk about voting in person, you got 30 different places and then you have 1. Okay. You have 1 place you can go, and that's your assigned polling place on election day. But if you vote early, you literally have 30 different places to choose from. If you have like a family member that you want to go vote with who doesn't live in your same community, who lives across town or lives in a different city, and you guys want to go together, you can only do that during early voting. So sometimes I'll see groups of friends that are make a day out of it on a Saturday. So they'll get up on a Saturday, go meet up somewhere, have breakfast, go vote, then go have breakfast or brunch or something like that. And the only way you can do that with your group of friends is if you do it during early voting, because on election day, everybody has to go to their assigned precinct.
And that assigned location on that specific day, if you don't make it by certain time, you out of luck.
Correct. And that's also the part that's really the other thing. I'm glad you mentioned that, because on election day, because you have that one location you can go to, sometimes people show up to the wrong location and you can't vote at the wrong location. You have to get to the right one. So if you waited and it's too late in the day and you get there, you can't get it wrong. I mean, it's harder to get it wrong during early voting because you can go anywhere in the county. Do people from other counties show up at the wrong polling place? Yeah, it happens, especially close to the county line. You'll get people show up at from the other county that'll show up, and we tell them, oh, you got to go back to your county. But if you live in Broward County and you show up at a Broward County site during early voting, you'll get to vote, even if you change your address, which is the other thing. A lot of people show up. The first thing we're going to ask you, we're going to show you the address we have on file. We're going to say, is this still your address? And if it's election day and you say, no, this isn't my address, we're going to say, what's your address? We put your address in. Now, you came to the place that was on your card because your card has your old address. Now that we put your new address in, you are supposed to be at a different place now. And if it's, by the way, 6:45, you got 15 minutes and it's 20 minutes away, you're not going to get to vote.
You did.
Yeah, so early voting takes care of that, because as long as you're in your county, we can change your address and you can vote right there. We can update your information. It's really hard to get it wrong during early voting. It's very easy to get it wrong if you wait until the last day. I would love for everybody to give up voting on the last day and start either vote by mail, vote early, pick another way to vote. Don't wait till the last day.
That's a good wish. Some people actually don't want us to have the vote by mail, doesn't want to have the early voting on the election day. And we know how, for a community like mine, when a mother has 2 jobs and single mother running a family, are hard for that mother to go vote that day when they have to drop their kids at school, they have to go to work, they have all these responsibilities. So that's why I really enjoy the fact that there is a vote by mail, there is early voting, so that these voters can have these different options. One question I have for you for vote by mail. I know the legislature also has made some changes in terms of who can take the ballot to the supervisor of election or who can drop it for a particular voter. So if my mother is an elderly, she filled out her vote by mail at home and then needs to have somebody drop it off for her. Who's qualified to drop the ballot for my mother?
So the answer is it's your immediate family plus 2 others. Okay, so you're allowed to have your own ballot, anybody in your immediate family. And the key part is, because sometimes people look at that and they think you're only allowed to bring two. But what it actually says in the law is plus two. So your own ballot, your immediate family, plus two.
So the two could be a cousin or niece. When you say immediate, could be son, father, sister or daughter or
Yeah.
nephew.
I'll tell you some common scenarios. Sometimes you're walking out because it's a pretty big envelope, right? You're walking out to your car and your neighbor sees you with those envelopes and says, "Oh, are you going to drop off ballots? Can you take my ballot and my wife's ballot with you?" So that's two more ballots in addition to the ones you have from your own home. That's legal. Yes, I can take two of my neighbors' ballots. Now, if another neighbor comes and says, "Hey, can you take mine too?" You have to tell them no, because I can only take two that are not part of my immediate
Immediate.
family.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
Also, you might go to work, and while you're at work, when you get ready to go to lunch, you might mention to the people in your office that, "Oh yeah, and I got my vote by mails. I'm going to go over to the early voting, and I'm going to drop off my vote by mails, or I'm going to go vote early myself." And a
Mhm.
coworker might say, "Oh, can you take my ballot? I got it in the car. I'm gonna go grab it from the car. I'm gonna give it to you. Can you take it over there?" The answer is yes, as long as it's two. Okay. So
Okay.
one or two, if it's like somebody at work, one or two people, you grab those one or two ballots and you take them with you and you drop them in the box. Nothing wrong with that. You could drop those two in the box and then go inside to vote in person. So that's perfectly fine. You're going to vote early and you mention that to your neighbor and your neighbor asks you to take the ballots. You can take two ballots, drop them off, walk inside, vote in person. That's perfectly legal.
Legal. Good.
Um,
Let me ask you one thing, Supervisor Scott. With the mailing ballot,
mhm.
uh, the administration is complaining about with the post office. Are they challenging the post office with this mailing thing? Because I know there are some talks about that going on around.
Yes. And yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because it is an important topic to discuss. But I'll tell you this, here in the state of Florida for a long time, despite what you may hear at the national level where people complain, they're complaining about other states. They're actually not complaining about Florida. So the system that we have in Florida is the ideal system that that folks who complain about vote by mail. Now, don't get me wrong, some people want vote by mail to go away altogether. But some
Uh-huh.
people want to change vote by mail, and usually they want to change it so it works the way it does in Florida. So when it comes to these changes that are happening with the Postal Service, there are changes happening with the Postal Service. But for those of us in Florida, it's nothing to worry about because we are doing things exactly the way the administration wants. And we've had new laws developed here in the state of Florida that that at least our policymakers in Florida and even our federal policymakers, this is the way they want vote by mail to work. The concern is in other states. It's not in Florida. So voting through the mail here in Florida is not going to have any problems.
About a week ago, the administration was on TV arguing that there is so much fraud in the elections that the American system of election doesn't work. And the possibilities for the wrong person to get elected due to fraud is very high. Now, due to your judgment and as a supervisor of election in Broward County, how do you see this is relevant, where dead people are voting, people who are not
Yeah.
U.S. citizens are voting? What is the percentage? What kind of cases have you uncovered in Broward County?
So it's minimal, very minimal. I'll tell you guys, as long as we've had elections, I think as long as you've had contests of any kind, there have always been sore losers. Sore losers is not a new thing, and sore losers probably won't go away. The only thing that changed over the last few years is that we have a sore loser with the world's biggest microphone. But listen, our elections are safe, our elections are effective. We are the best at this. Now, that being said, do mistakes happen? Do people who are not eligible to vote sometimes will sign up, or maybe they didn't even intend to, but there's some kind of a system glitch where the person just went to go get a driver's license, and while they were getting their driver's license, they accidentally got added to the voter rolls. You know, do these things happen? Sure. They do. We have screening processes in place. We remove people from the rolls. Just because somebody is on the roll, on the voter roll, doesn't mean they voted. We can actually tell you who came and checked in and voted. So sometimes people will come afterwards and they'll say, oh, we found X number of dead people on the voter rolls. And it's a deceptive thing to say. And I'll tell you why. I think we all know that sometimes people who are registered to vote, sometimes they die. And when they die, it's not as if the voter roll is connected to the EKG at the hospital. And as soon as you flatline, we take you off the rolls. It doesn't work that way. It takes time. So when somebody says, hey, I found this dead person on the voter rolls, I have one question. Did the dead person vote? Because that's when you have a problem. You have a problem if the dead person voted. Now, if the dead person didn't vote, there's no problem. The person will get removed. It takes a little time, but they get removed. Same thing with non-citizens. We may not notice it immediately. Also, it's a complicated thing because people go to get their driver's license sometimes when you're a permanent resident, then you get naturalized and you don't go back to the DMV and update your driver's license. So the driver's license system will have you as an immigrant, while the voter registration system has you as a voter, as a citizen. Because we get you as soon as you raise your hand and become a naturalized citizen, we're right there to get you registered to vote. And you register to vote after you get naturalized. There's two different databases in the state of Florida, and even the federal database that they keep may not be updated right away either. So when they say that they're finding all these non-citizens on the rolls, by the way, a lot of these people actually are citizens. Some of these people are U.S. citizens who were born overseas, who are sometimes remain in that system as non-citizens because of just the way the process works. When a U.S. citizen born overseas returns to the United States or comes to the United States for the first time, there's a process that they have to go through, and sometimes that system doesn't get updated. So I guess my point here is that, and I think I'm probably preaching to the choir because I know I'm speaking to an immigrant community here. You guys know how complicated these systems are and how imperfect these systems are, and that, you know, some of the stuff that is just, it's really blown out of proportion. The truth be told is that, you know, a lot of these things have been this way forever. It's not any kind of numbers that would ever change the outcome of an election. By the way, a lot of our voter data is public record. You can look it up. You can have access to certain records. So when they say other foreign countries got access to these records, it's because anybody can have access to it. It's public, and it's public for a reason, so that you can see who's on the voter rolls, so that you could come back and tell me you found a dead person on the voter rolls, so you can come back and tell me that you found a non-citizen on the voter rolls. It's public.
And do your thing on that to remove whatever illegality that is on the voter roll. For my last questions, as the time go by, on voters registration, how can a member citizen can really check to make sure that they're going to the right precinct because of all these changes going on?
Sure. You know, we have a lot of great tools on our website, so I encourage people to go browardvotes.gov. One of the tools we have, by the way, you can go in and look up all of your information. We have a portal. It's called my.browardvotes.gov, and you can go in there and look up your information using your first name, last name, date of birth. Of course, we have this other tool because, like I mentioned before, if you've moved recently, you have to go to the polling place for the place you live now. We actually have a tool on our website that you can go to, and it'll allow you to put any address in Broward County. You put that address in, and it'll tell you what polling place you should go to based on the address, as opposed to what place you are currently assigned to. And I hope that makes sense to everybody. What I'm saying is that because if you move, your address changes, you then immediately become assigned to a new polling place. So you have to go there. You have to go to that new spot. You walk in there, they might even tell you, oh, wait, this isn't your polling place. And you need to tell them, oh, my address changed. And they say, okay, let's do your address change. Okay, address change done. Okay, now this is your polling place because we changed your address. Does that make sense?
Wonderful, wonderful, great explanations. I love it. I'm loving it. That's one thing that I would like your help with, and maybe help me understand how the supervisors of election collects data. We in the Haitian community, for example, always kind of find a way to evaluate how many people goes out to vote in our community. Sometimes I hear that Haitians don't go out and vote. I don't know, in Broward, maybe we might have 50,000 Haitians voters, Haitian Americans. Maybe we can have 100,000 Haitian American voters. How do we verify? How can we have access to the data if it's public, to know how is our community doing in terms of voter participation?
You know, I think there's a few different ways that that could potentially be done. And I think it's important to note that one thing that is not public is how you voted, right? So we actually have a system where there's a secret ballot. So we do not connect the ballot to the person. We have to have the same number of ballots as we have people who checked in, but we cannot tell you which ballot goes with which person. So that's just one important note. So yes, we can tell you who voted. We can't tell you how they voted. So when it comes to who voted, there's a few different ways. Sometimes people are just doing polls. Like they'll talk to people and they do like exit polls as people are leaving. So some of the stuff that people think is coming from us is not even us. It's media organizations that are doing it. And there's other ways as well. Like I would imagine that, you know, if I were to do this and somebody asked me to try to figure this out and I wasn't the supervisor of elections, let's say I worked for some media organization, maybe one quick way to go in Broward County is let's find people who have the race is Black and they have a French sounding last name. And you just grab all those people and then see who voted and who didn't, what percentage voted, what percentage didn't. You know, I think there's probably a few different ways people do that. There is a place on our voter rolls on the voter registration form for you to put your country of origin, but that is not required. So you don't have to put your country of origin. And also there's, you know, I think we consider people who are second, third generation, we'll usually consider them part of the Haitian community as well, you know, and I'm sure people like, you know, they're considering those people as well. And they probably, their place of birth is, of course, the United States, you know, and they, you know, are also Haitians. They could also be citizens of both countries, dual citizens. So basically, I guess what I'm saying is there's a number of different ways. A lot of times that's not like an official number. It's a number that somebody did through some kind of a study or a poll or something like that.
Well, I thank you very much, Supervisor Joe Scott, for coming on board and giving us those important and what I understand from what you're saying, we need to vote early. The earliest we vote is the better it is. So we don't have
to. Let's stop waiting till the last day. I know that's big. You know,
you're asking for trouble.
You know, around in our communities, a lot of people like to. It's like tradition. The tradition is to wait until the last day. Let's end that tradition. That's a bad tradition. Let's get a new tradition. Let's go on Saturday, Sunday. Let's have a family vote and brunch day on a Saturday or a Sunday when everybody's off from work. Let's start some new traditions around voting.
Yeah, in the early voting time. And as far as registration, you mentioned that they changed the rule. I mean, they push you out every 2 years. And if I got that right, it's on even years. Even years will be the last 2 years, and then uneven, that's when it stops.
So we actually delete all the names off in December of the even numbered year. So after the big election, all the names get deleted and you start all over again. So in come January, January, this upcoming January of 2027, everybody's gone off the list and we have to start from scratch and start signing everybody up again.
That is correct. That is good to know. And thank you very much, Supervisor Joe. And my daughter kind of did ours last Sunday, and we already got the ballot. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad to hear that. All right. Thank you guys for having me on. It was really a pleasure talking to you today.
Yes.
Thank you, Supervisor Scott. Thank you for being with us. And now you will be always welcome on Time Out 360 to give us pertinent information about civic engagement and voting.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
We had the pleasure to have the Supervisor of Elections, Joe Scott, with us today, Jean-Marie.
Non, alors, c'est information que moun yo doit comprendre. Parce que, bon, c'est une information, si nous pas comprenons bagala, n'a bouillé, oui. Parce que, gen moun kap découragé pour nous pas à voter, et bagala pour nous comprendre, c'est voter bonheur. Ça veut dire, les early voting, non? Nous, ta doit connaître des pays, gen early voting qui va venir pour courant en août, là, c'est ou semaine, ou 100 semaines. Ça veut dire, depuis lundi jusqu'à dimanche, c'est marché, fait tout ça, ou à n'importe côté pour voter. N'importe côté où voter. Et nous, il dit nous, là, 2 jours, ça, même l'on a ballot là, ou pas qu'à la ballot là, non? Faut pouvoir aller dans office spécial. Pour aller ballot là, l'on rete dans 2 derniers jours. C'est pas que je ne connais pas même personnellement, parce que je me connais early voting depuis que je ballot, même qu'à la n'importe. Non, faut pour un côté spécial pour aller. C'est ça qu'il faut early voting. Hein? Nous pas peur pour erreur, la early voting. Hein? Nous connaissons chaque élection qu'il y a fait là, nous connaissons ces élections primaires, on comprend, c'est où semaine on gagne. L'élection qui est grande élection en novembre, il compte pas nous 2 semaines. Vous comprenez? Il faut pas faire négligence, il ne faut pas faire crétin pour nous penser que nous allons être derniers jours, les finis de la pluie, chez Modé, vous comprenez?
On s'en dirait, mais une stratégie votée, si nous avons un conseil qui est une stratégie votée, nous avons dit, tout le monde qui a de là, aller enregistrer pour vote by mail.
Oui.
Si toute communauté, tout haïtien, tout le monde est enregistré pour vote by mail, nous sommes contents. Bon, pour ça, vote by mail, là, fait ballot, là, vient là, directement.
Oui.
Ou bien temps pour garder ballot, là. Ou bien temps pour analyser, ou bien temps pour parler à petit tout. Ou bien temps pour parler à mari, ou avec madame, ou avec maman, avec tout le monde, et qu'on a nous tous nous connaît, mais qui ça n'a fait. So, en plus de ça, ou bien nous a décidé, m'ba quoi mettre ballon dans bulletin dans la poste, m'ba biliv la donne, m'ba vle que la perdu dans la poste, m'ba vle que moun yo pas délivrer pour tout bon. C'est pas un problème non. Ou ka toujours aller dans early voting non. Ou ka toujours aller dans early voting même là que ou te grand commander bulletin là pour te venir joindre nous à travers mail.
Oui, ou là de l'on boîte spéciale. Ou là de l'on boîte spéciale que superviseur élection gagné de là, c'est yo qui a collecté tout. Tout magou de l'administration a parlé avec mailman, il a besoin de faire, il a besoin même shot et post office là pour ne pas recevoir mail.
Mais la poste même. Pas vagabondage ça, pas vagabondage. Depuis c'est bulletin qui a passé la poste là, il a bloqué, il va quitter le bas. Vagabondage. Je vais vous dire que c'est peut-être ça que nous-mêmes, dans le American Democratic Club, nous avons un événement que nous avons fait demain, si Dieu veut, et dimanche, de 2h pour 5h, c'est ça les meet your candidate que lié. Nous t'arrêtons que tout le monde qui t'a participé dans meet your candidate là, et relais-moi dans 754 271 1409, 754 271 1409. Nous avons numéro organisation, Haitian American Democratic Club, nous numéro organisation tout sous flyer, qui c'est 754 271 1391. 754 271 1391. Je dis à mes amis, m'a invité nous pour nous venir participer ensemble avec Haitian American Democratic Club of Broward dans un grand événement, dans une grande rencontre avec tout grands candidats qui gagnent dans la communauté pour venir rencontrer ensemble avec eux, serrer la main ensemble avec eux, poser des questions, regarder qui ça y a fait pour ça fait TPS là, regarder qui va le défendre nous dans les affaires immigration, regarder qui ça qui va le défendre nous dans les affaires économiques développement, dans une corps pour communauté, dans une grade pour l'église, dans une grade pour business pour nous capable grandir business nous et permettre que nous grandit l'église nous tout. Quand pile frappe que l'église fait prend c'est à cause de situation que nous y connaissons. Les affaires TPS là, c'est un bagage que pour nous adresser face à face ensemble avec candidat ça. encore une fois, invitez-nous pour nous venir demain, 26 juillet, à 2h de l'après-midi, dans FNZ, c'est dans 19 North State Road 7. FNZ, 19 North State Road 7, dans corner Broward Boulevard, ensemble avec 441. Donc, une fois, mes amis, là, moi, dit 19 là, il y a des gens qui pensaient que c'est 19 Street que me dit. Je ne dis 19 Street. Numéro business là, c'est 19. Nous dans coin Broward Boulevard avec 441. Nous dans coin nord-ouest là, dans gros shopping center, c'est en dans là que nous avons fait événement demain si Dieu veut. Faut nous là, nous pas capable là. Faut nous là, faut nous poser une question. Qu'est-ce que nous gagnons cap là, Jean-Marie?
C'est 2h de l'après-midi à 5h pour nous connaître. 2h de l'après-midi à 5h, c'est pas au événement qui va prendre au paquet de temps.
Juste après l'église. Après l'église, venez nous après l'église.
C'est bon pour passer. Parce que c'est très important pour nous connaître candidat. Nous connaissons qui nous a voté, comme pour qui ça a voté. Parce que on ça passer la position que nous, la communauté nous a pour ça fait TPS là, en pile nous, parfois, pas fin trop comprendre bagala, nous simplement voter, voyer bulletin, n'importe quoi. Et c'est condition ça qui ferait nous un problème que nous y est là. C'est très important pour nous connaître intérêt pas nous défendre intérêt pas nous connaître qui candidat, nous avons des candidats qui sont ouais pour intérêt pas nous. C'est comme ça où je nous compte dire moun changer chemise pour moun qui suit pour ou besoin qu'on ait ça moun nan bras fait pour communauté par là pour nous pas prendre la d'appui pour nous pas prendre et chaque la macoute faut pour nous compte ça dans fait.
Et m'avait dit nous mes amis que n'a essayé de grand potentat cap là nous gagnons d'autres cette représentatif d'Odi Joseph qui a couru pour gouverneur ou haïtien américain qui a couru pour gouverneur de la Floride. Ça sont belles bagages ça y est, ça sont bagages pour Pierre.
Haïtien américain gouverneur dans cette Floride là que vous voulez que vous pas voulez, il y a pour elle.
Il y a pour elle. Et nous gagnons district 24 là. Et nous gagnons docteur Rudy Moïse qui a là, nous gagnons commissionnaire et Jean Modestime qui a là. Faut nous venir parler avec eux. Nous gagnons pour district 21. Nous gagnons congresswoman Chila chef Philippe Pacomi qui a là pour capable parler ensemble avec nous parce que là pour position. Donc mes amis, nous pas capable là, il faut que nous là demain 26 juillet. Relève pour plus de détails dans 754 271 1409 754 271 1409. Et Jean-Marie, et nous la jodi, c'est un bagage qui est très important pour nous venir parler, mais je le regarde courir sur nous parce que faut nous aller, faut nous s'effouer.
Oui, merci beaucoup. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Time Out.